Howdy folks, Sage here at Ranch Armor, here to show y'all how to install our worn winch and our winch plate. So let's go ahead and get into it. So just starting out, we're going to start with mounting this winch plate on there. It's very simple, but we'll go ahead and show you how to do it. Truth be told, this is all you need. You're going to need your 2 U-bolts. These will come in your kit with it, and then you'll need a impact with a 17 socket on it. Then you'll take your U-bolt, and it is a little bit of a squeeze, but it is possible. Slide it back behind your bar here, and then it jumps out of that channel right there, just like that. Go ahead and do that with both of them. Now, you'll take your winch plate. You'll want your winch slot facing out and up. So then you just take it, kind of line it up a little bit, and then it'll sit on there while you take your nuts and washers and go ahead and just put those on hand tight. Alright, so once you get those on there hand tight, you'll still be able to move it around a little bit. What I like to do, just to make it look nice and pretty, is go ahead and center it on this bolt on the headache rack. And it does take a little bit of finagling and patience, but once you get it there, you'll be set. Just like that.
Give me 2 seconds here.
Your winch plate is mounted. Next, we'll go ahead and blast open this box with the winch in it, and we'll go ahead and get that winch put on there. Alright, as y'all can see, it is definitely a lot. But I promise once we get started and once we get rolling, things will start making sense and it'll start coming together a lot easier. We'll be showing you how to install each set, and we'll be showing you the tools for each thing as we move along. So just stay tuned and we'll get there. Okay, so starting out, you're going to need your H8 socket on your little impact gun and a 17 wrench. And this is so we can go ahead and blast on this fairlead and get it out of the way. It's one of the easier parts to put on. You'll take your bolt with a H8 Allen receiver in it. Go ahead and line it up right there and slide it on through. Do the same for both sides. Then you'll take your 17 mil nylock nuts and put them on the back here. All right, now you're going to take your 17 mil wrench, go ahead and put it on there with your impact, tighten it on down. And there we go. One step already out of the way. We're moving right along. All right, so next we're going to go ahead and throw our winch up here on the winch plate. All you're going to need for this step is a 13 mil socket. It's pretty easy. So you'll take it, bring it up here, and then on the bottom there's going to be little holes. I don't know if you can really see in there. You'll just take your 13 bolts and just go ahead and put them in hand tight for now. We'll tighten them all down in just a minute. All right, now you take your 13 mil socket and just tighten them down the rest of the way. Just like that. Then go ahead and run your spool through your fairlead. Right here is your lock and unlock. You put that into the up position, puts it into neutral, and lets you spool it out just a little bit. I like to spool it out some just so I have some room to play with it and work with it. All right, so now that we've got that mounted up and ready to go, it is wiring from here on out. All right, so on your winch, you're gonna have your yellow, and then on this back side here is your blue. Then here's your wiring. You've got your yellow wire and your blue wire. Yellow is gonna be your positive, and blue will be your negative. And we'll get into how to run this wire and getting it all set up here in just a minute. All right, as you can see, I went ahead and crimped together the yellow and red and the blue and black. Like we said earlier, whenever we were looking at the winch, your positive is going to be your yellow and your negative is going to be your black. And we did this just because the wires that come in the box are not quite long enough to make it all the way down to the battery box where they need to go. And we'll get into that in just a little bit, but I wanted to show y'all this real quick. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and fishnet these wires. You don't necessarily have to, but we do here at Ranch Armor just because we like things to look nice and clean and organized. All right, as you can see, we went ahead and ran our fish through the little channels in the bottom of your headache rack there. There's a little hole. It's kind of hard to see in the video, but it's there. So you go ahead and run it through there. You're gonna have, I believe, 4 holes in total on the bottom. It should just come out of this very next hole for this first set of wires. All right, and then you just start feeding it back down through. And this part can be a little bit of a headache, but with enough patience, you will get there. All right, so once you get your wires run, go ahead and throw these little hoods on. And remember, like we said earlier, yellow is positive, blue is negative. Then you'll take your 10 mil nuts and just throw those on hand tight for now. There's no need to cinch them down just yet. Now you're gonna take the other end and go ahead and feed it back down. And again, it's a little bit of a tight squeeze, but it is doable. You'll pull it down through there. And then this will be running down to your battery box, which we will show you here in just a moment. All right, next we're gonna go ahead and get our remote all fishnetted and set up. The only thing on this one that is gonna be a little bit different that you will probably have to do yourself, this red wire right here, you'll want to extend to the length of your green and black. So just crimp, heat shrink, and get that extended down to there. And we'll show you this here in a second after I get it done. All right, so now you're gonna take your fish and you're gonna run it all the way through the bar to the other side over here. You can see where I'm pulling it out. Like I said, you're gonna have your 4 holes and you're going to this far hole right now. All right, and you just feed it back through, back and forth, back and forth. All right, now with your remote, you have to kind of figure out where you want it to sit. If you're doing this yourself, obviously you get to choose where it sits. But since I'm doing this one, and we'll be right back with brackets and tools to show you how to mount that up. So next you're gonna take your 13/64 drill bit inside your drill, and this little bracket that comes inside the kit, you're gonna go ahead and line it up and drill on through. Then you're gonna take your little 1/8 inch Allen, run it on through. The little nut that comes with it, go ahead and put that on the back. We haven't tightened it down yet just because we want to be able to put in these little baby screws into those right there. Just like that. Like I said, we're leaving it all loose right now, but now that we've got everything all cinched down and tightened up, we can tighten it down the rest of the way and it'll sit there just like that. Go ahead and tighten this down. You're gonna get an 8mm wrench and an 1/8 inch Allen. Once again, you get to do the great finagle and become a contortionist. Just like that, it's all set. Next, we'll take a Phillips head screwdriver and tighten those down. All right, now we're on to the part where we run these wires down to the battery box. So I'm gonna tape this back off, and we'll have Mr. Matt here go ahead and feed it down to me. This little opening right here is where those wires are gonna come down. Like I said, with a friend, you can kind of reach your hand back up in there and he might be able to see your fingers. And then, come here. There we are, both our wires. We have our relay that comes inside your winch box. It does come with a little instructions relay that kind of helps you map everything out. We are gonna do one thing a little bit different though, and I'll show you whenever we get there. The first and easiest step that you can do right here, go ahead and take off your ground on the black bar there. Take the provided brown wire, hook it up to the middle on that middle post, and then bring this on around right there. And there we go. That is going to be the easiest part of this next step. So next you're going to choose where is best to put this thing. Typically I try to shoot for right there. Still allows a little bit of play. You'll have to fight it a little bit, but it won't be near as bad. Then you'll take a 5/16 self-driving. I use a magnetic driver. You don't have to. I do just because it makes it easier. Then screw down one side. Now if you remember all those steps ago, we've got our yellow and blue hooked up to the red and black. So now we're going to go ahead and make our connections here. So I like to go ahead and put on my 1/2-inch heat shrink just so I can cut this to length a little bit. I usually do leave a little bit of slack just so I'm not having to fight myself so much. So I'll usually cut it right around there. Like I said, I like to leave a little bit of slack. Not too much that it makes a nasty rat's nest, but enough that I'm not having to fight myself too much. Go ahead and shrink that down, just because it'll save you the headache of having to do it later. And then you can choose whether you want to burn yours off or if you want to snip it off. It's really up to you. I burned mine just because it's faster. Then snip, snip, put on your 10-gauge ring terminals, and it may fight you a little bit, and if you do have to trim, that is okay. That isn't going to do any kind of damage. Like that right there, that's what I have to trim. Like I said, it is perfectly fine to do that. Alright, now that we know that's going to fit, we can pull it back off. Take our 1/4-inch heat shrink and slide it on over. Crimp that down. Pull your heat shrink back up and burn it on down. And now you're just going to repeat the process for your black here. Right, now we're ready to make our next connection. So, if you look on our little sheet here, like I said, it's pretty good. So you've got your yellow, you've got your blue, and remember we connected the yellow to the red and blue to black. So we're going to run the now red wire to the yellow post on here, which is right there. So we'll go ahead and get that taken off and start getting these connected. Blue is black. Oop. Red is yellow. Just like that. And don't tighten these down all the way yet, because we've still got a little ways to go. I just like to go ahead and put them back on so I don't forget or lose anything. Now we can go ahead and start working on getting the remote control hooked up. So now you can go ahead. It does come with those clips inserted. I like to put my own on though. That's just me. You can do whatever you want. It is perfectly fine. This heat shrink I'll move a little bit further back because again, I like to have a lot of play with my wires, so I'm not having to fight everything about it. So I'll go ahead and move it a little bit further back. There you go. Go ahead. Get that all peeled apart. So now you'll see we have a green, a black, and this is pink, but it's supposed to be red. So going back to the sheet here, you can see you've got your green, black, and your red. But this is where we're gonna do something a little bit different with this red. Instead of it going to the key so that it can be the optional remote, it's gonna go to your battery red. So that way you can just use the remote that we just installed a little bit ago. Next, I like to cut enough off that you can fold these back over, because I cannot tell you how many of these little things right here I have tried to crimp down and it didn't end up working for me. Always give just a little bit of a pull just to make sure you got that on there good and tight. And now we'll do the same to green and black. Make sure your pink one actually gets a ring terminal. So we're gonna go back to our sheet here. I'm actually gonna flip it a little bit more towards me. So you can see green, it's gonna go on this post closest to the back. So go ahead and slide that on. Black is gonna go on the one that's closest to the front. Make sure you get it on there, get it good and tight. Then we can go ahead and start getting this bottom off. So now you can take your leftover red and black, and this is why we did that. We always put red and black at the very tail end so that you can make your battery connections. So always go ahead and test fit it first before you start screwing anything down. Make sure everything is going to reach. That right there is pretty close, but not close enough. So pull it back down some and try again. I like that a whole lot more. I don't know about y'all. Two ends that did not get heat shrinked, that's what we have these two extra hoods for. They will provide that little bit of protection and make it to where we are pretty much at the finish line. One more little sprint. So again, one more time. Measure out, make sure everything's gonna work. Looks like it is. Connect your ground. With your trusty 10 mil socket. Go ahead and tighten everything down, and we're going to be just about ready to test it. Right, then we slide this back onto its home back there. Don't forget, move your hoods back over these terminals. Now, last step. Just like that. Throw a cotter pin through there and you're done. So that's how you hook up our winch here at Ranch Armor. Thanks for watching and y'all have a blessed day.